Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to the show. Got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 47th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to hop into today is the NBA. Guys, just what are your thoughts on this young season so far?
I think we have a lot of stuff we've expected. A lot of the typical heavyweights are fighting at the top of the league. We have, Cleveland off to a really good start. Golden State off to a good start as well, like everybody expected with the big signing of Kevin Durant. The Clippers always seem to find a way toward the top early in the season, but, playoff times when all their scrutiny comes anyway. So I'm not worried about talking about the Clippers at all, but, I think it's just typical stuff. I mean, Russell Westbrook's putting on a show, averaging a triple-double now and looking to not slow down. I believe I picked him to be, MVP at the end of the year, and I think he's playing up to that. So in terms of the early season, not a lot of stuff that's surprising or jumping off the page. Maybe a few individual performances, but nothing, in my opinion, really worth noting as something shocking.
Yeah, I mean, for early on, things are looking like it's going to be a fun season. Like Ty mentioned, the Warriors, they're gelling faster than I think people would have expected. And that offense is looking nasty. They seem to be figuring it out and putting up a lot of points. Not playing a ton of defense, but
who needs defense?
Yeah, but when you can score almost 120 a game, it's going to be hard to beat you. And then the Eastern Conference is rounding out where it looks like it'll probably be more of the dogfight. Seems a little less top heavy, but with the new faces, we're starting to see which ones are working out early. Like Chicago's looking good, third in the East. I mean, still early. There's going to be some ebbs and flows, but it's been interesting to see how that small team is shaping up. But they've been playing well. Cleveland is Cleveland, and Philly's actually won 4 games already. That's a good sign.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
Although I will say Joel Embiid is better than I expect him to be. I mean, I think everybody talked about him being good, but he's doing stuff I don't think we expected.
Yeah, I thought that injury was going to hold him back like crazy, but he's just a beast unleashed, man. He's doing his thing.
Yeah, he's playing like a veteran big man already.
Yeah.
Well, he has been in the league for 2 seasons.
True.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Darnell?
No.
Okay. Well, just for me, you guys pretty much touched on it, but Westbrook did have him having a good season, man. But just some of the games that he's been playing, I thought, with some of the teams that he's been playing this year, they would get beat pretty badly by him. But he's actually got that team just hanging in there, to the final, seconds of the game. He's been having some close games this year that they've either lost or won. So, he's definitely doing this thing. Will not be surprised if he, gets the MVP for sure. Also, for my Lakers too, was disappointed them not getting a big name during the off season, but just looking at this team so far, they got a hell of a lot of potential, man. They've been doing their thing so far. D'Angelo Russell, he's stepped his game up since all the crazy stuff that was going on last year with the team and stuff. I really think the summer league helped him a lot too. He's been just developing during the player. I love his confidence at his just young age, and it's just the whole, Luke Walton got those guys believing in themselves, doing their thing. So, really interested to see how this team is going to look down the road. So, just really impressed with them so far.
What do you mean the Lakers didn't get a big name? They took Mozgov.
Oh yeah, Mozgov. How could I forget?
But honestly, this is probably the most likable Lakers team since Showtime. Because I know they've kind of been one of those like Darth Vader type teams where you just have to basically be a front runner to like them. Yeah. Because of them always just going and finding the biggest name and grabbing them. They're basically the Yankees of the NBA, but they have a young team. They're kind of actually just building a team. It's kind of nice and refreshing to see from them. And like they're not going to win a title this year or anything, but I'm interested to see how this team grows. And like it's for once a Lakers team I can get behind.
Yeah, and I think for the first time, I mean, I guess you could argue Swaggy P, but the team doesn't have an ego. They're young. They know they're young. They're just gonna grow throughout the season. And like Trey said, D'Angelo Russell's kind of stepping into a leadership role in this team. He stepped his game up statistics wise this year. He's scoring more, dropping a few more dimes. So it's really the idea that this Lakers team is turning into a team and not individual talent like they had been, because he used to be Swaggy P, used to take every shot in the gym. Yeah. I mean, he still kind of does, but I mean, I think everybody's trusting each other on that team. I think Luke Walton has a lot to do with it. Coming from Golden State, really figuring out how to coach a team and bringing that over to the Lakers. I mean, they'll be probably the most turned around team this year.
Yeah. Just, I was pretty impressed, with just Luke Walton, just overall, really wanted to see how he was going to coach, because he was with Golden State last year, like how it was looking like, it looked like anybody could coach that team and they would be successful. So when he came to, LA, just so far what he's doing, he's doing a pretty good job coaching that squad.
Yeah, he's definitely showing, the coaching chops are for real. And I mean, what looks like what he did with Golden State was actual coaching. It wasn't just have Clay go out there and shoot and make a lot of shots. Yeah. This is a young team, and he has them with a 500 record, and they're competing in every game they play. They have a win over that one of Golden State's only 2 losses is to them. So yeah.
All right, guys. So what are your just thoughts on the Pistons this year so far?
I think there's a lot to like still, despite sitting at 10-10 right now. Just coming off a 2-game streak against 2 playoff teams, which is really nice to see. They've beaten the Clippers once this year. Dropped their game to the Cavs, which would have been a nice one to win. Dropped a close one to the Knicks, which they should have won. Kind of battled with the Spurs early in the season. I mean, I think there's a lot to like for this Pistons team. I mean, when you just look at some of their leaders, Tobias Harris is leading the team at, 17 points a game. Drummond's at 13 boards a game. The missing piece for this team is Reggie Jackson. Granted, he's hurt. There's nothing you can do about it, but he's kind of the emotional leader of that team. He brings the fire on the court. He brings the swag, if you will, for the team. And once they get him back, they'll really, I think we'll see more 4-5 game win streaks out of them moving forward. He'll be able to bring more points, more rounded scoring for the starting 5. Ish Smith's done a great job filling in so far. I mean, he's averaging 6 assists a game. I don't know that you could ask really for a lot more out of him. For me, it's kind of always been about when Reggie Jackson gets back. I think this team is in fine shape through 20 games. I mean, like I said, they lost a couple they probably should have won. But, I think Stan Van Gundy's really got this team in a good spot moving forward, coming off a playoff berth last year. I think they'll get that again. I think Reggie Jackson's kind of the key.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, we're seeing them at 80% right now. And I think they're doing fairly well. I mean, 500, they've been protecting home, 7-2 at home. They haven't learned how to win on the road yet, but I think that'll come, especially once they get their floor general back and they have that more of a punch. And I think that'll give them that boost because they're averaging like under 100 points a game right now. I think that'll get them what's needed to, get with the better teams in the NBA, which seems like everybody averages over 100 points now. And they seem to be set for the future and they're growing. I'm fine with where they're at right now, and I expect to see some improvement once they, like a couple weeks after getting Reggie back into the fold, because they'll have to get him back acclimated to the system and the rotation and everything. So give them some time, but I think a couple weeks after he's back, they'll be a much more dangerous team than they already are.
Now, another big story about them this year is that they're moving back to the D, actually Detroit. What do you guys think about that move when you first heard it?
I'm all right with it.
Yeah, cool with it. All right, yeah.
I'm 5 minutes from the Palace, so I would rather them stay.
Yeah,
but and also it's kind of Gore's kind of went back on something he said. He kind of made that promise that they weren't moving. And
yeah.
A couple years later, now they're out basically. So a little disappointed in that. Seems like he kind of went against his own word there. But you make business decisions. I'm not sure how well this actually works since the Palace was already paid for.
Yeah,
now
exactly.
Now he's going to be paying rent for his team to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming he had his money. People look at it and somehow it's going to be a profit for the team. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, moving to a new, updated, looks like it's going to be an awesome stadium that they'll be sharing with the Red Wings in the Little Caesars Arena. I mean, it looks great. It looks like it'll be a great move. The stadium, if you have not seen pictures, you can Google them. Looks great. The finished product, I think, is going to be really awesome. I think it's going to be a great stadium. The biggest loser in this situation, though, is probably the guy who named the Palace, because he got free tickets for life. So I don't know what he's going to be seeing these days. So
I'll have to watch him.
Get more concerts.
Yeah,
he'll be the biggest loser out of all of this, unless they honor it and give him season tickets or something. But but in reality, I think moving down to Detroit's going to be, to an extent, I think it'll be really great at first before it kind of wears off and just becomes basketball again. Because this team they'll identify with that downtown Detroit identity. I think the first year they're down there, I think they're going to have next year, I think they're going to have a pretty good season. I really do. I think they'll play really well at home. I think the fans will turn out. I don't think they're going to see, down attendance. I actually think they'll see up attendance. I think Detroit's going to fall in love with the Pistons again. And I think the players are going to reward them for that with some good play.
Well, yeah, I mean, I figure, of course, it's a new arena, so they're going to have an upswing in attendance. But also, they have a rising team that people are expecting to get better and start moving up to the top of the conference. So I think that will also bring the attendance. So that latter part, I think that would have come at the Palace. I mean, whenever they've had a decent team,
they turn out.
So it's just, I think the Pistons have actually had one of those fan bases. People call them fair weather fans, but I think it makes people get good teams. If the fans don't go because you're playing bad basketball, you bring them back by getting a good team. So
yeah.
All right, now, guys, kind of touched on it a little bit, but, what are your thoughts on just Golden State so far into the season?
They are what we thought they were.
And like I said, a lot faster than I thought. I mean, I thought there would be some growing pains just trying to figure out how they share the ball and early you could see the deficiencies, and they still have them as far as interior defense, but good God, when you just have a scoring punch where you got 3 people that are capable of putting 40 on you if they get hot.
Yeah.
That's hard to deal with. And at this level, when you're an elite scorer like Clay, Steph, and KD, nobody's going to be cold for a long time. So probably 2 of them every night are at least going to be having an average game where they put up 20 something, and that opens up the court for everybody else. It's just they're a scary offensive team. I mean, like I said, they're putting up about 120 points a game. Like the next closest team is Cleveland, but they're still putting up 6 points a game more than them, and not allowing much more. So, have fun trying to outscore this team, and they're efficient.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you actually hit the point I was just going to touch on: efficiency. I mean, if we look at the newest addition being Kevin Durant, in 2014-15 season, that was actually his best field goal percentage year at 51%. He's currently at 57% field goal percentage. Like, I understand it. I understand it's still early in the year, but I see him floating around that 54-55% mark. And mainly because he's scoring in so many different ways. He's not just relying on a jump shot now.
Yeah, they've been putting him in the post and everything too.
Well, I mean, it's 6'11".
Yeah. But like that was always my argument when people were just like, "There's not enough shots to go around." It's like this guy he took less shots than Russell Westbrook on average with Oklahoma City. Like he averaged 25 points a game, taking 15 shots, and just whatever free throws he gets. Like that's, I don't think it's that hard for a couple people to give up 3-4 shots so he can get his 12 to 15 shots a night, where basically that's all he needs. Or if he gets hot, you feed him. But he's not what they call a volume scorer or anything like that. He's an assassin. Like, he sees if he gets a clear look, 9 times out of 10 it's going in. So
well, according to the stats right now, it's 5.7 times out of 10. So
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. But and going off that point, I think it was really odd to see the earliest struggler be Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
I think I expected it to be Durant trying to be too unselfish, trying to force himself into the offense by being passive, kind of, passing the ball and then hoping the guys pass it to him so he gets his shots too. And he was actually one of the more aggressive players early.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he's already shown he's an alpha.
Yeah, and Klay Thompson kind of took a backseat for a while. He wasn't shooting well at the beginning. But I guess if there's, and he's picked it up since, like, don't misunderstand me. Klay Thompson's still going to have a really good season. The player that I think has taken the most off of his offensive game has been Draymond Green, and he's almost taking more of a focus on the defensive end right now. I mean, he had a big block the other night to seal the game. Yep. So, I mean, if
LeBron,
yeah. So my assumption is that if Draymond Green wins Defensive Player of the Year, I won't be surprised one bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's just kind of the beauty of this team, how they're set up for right now. I mean, in the future, is going to be some work to try to keep them and stay under the cap, but
I need to see more out of Zaza. That's it. That's it. He's all I need to see more out of.
That's like I wouldn't be shocked if they do try to make some kind of move at the deadline to get somebody that's a better interior defender, because that would basically put them over the top. They, with how much they can score, they still are pretty much the team to beat.
Oh yeah.
But just like I said, how they're built, they have this free flowing offense. It's pretty unselfish. Like, none of them really seem to care who is putting up the points. And like you said, their third option last year seems to have been perfectly fine with not taking as many shots and focusing on what's already a strength. He is their best defensive play. Well, between him and Clay, he's one of their better defense. He's their best interior player for sure. Their best rebounder. So he's honed in on those things to, he's using his energy there, and he's still doing well facilitating. He's probably still their best passer as well. So, people are finding things that they
think you're better passer than Draymond, man.
No, I'm saying Draymond is their best
okay.
passer.
I thought you were talking about KD. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I mean, KD's a good all-around player, but but everybody's just getting in where they fit in on the team, and it's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any other thoughts on the NBA before we move on?
I think
go Pistons.
All right.
Go Pistons.
All right, we're about to get into NCAA football. First thing we're about to talk about is that Who of Them game versus The Ohio State University. Yeah. What about that?
What other 2-loss team is ranked number 5? All right. Yeah. Since I know you're going to ask me, I'll go ahead and jump into it. The big talk has been the refs among Michigan fans. I mean, if you look at it, the flag total seemed quite one-sided. I believe there was 8 flags against Michigan and 2 for 6 yards against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, we can look at that all day long. Now there's all these, I don't know if you want to call them conspiracy theories, but a lot of people have dug into the backgrounds on the refs and have found, one of the guys was inducted into the Ohio Sports Hall of Fame, a proclaimed Ohio State fan. One of the refs was not allowed to coach the game in 2006, which was when they were ranked number 1 versus number 2, because he was an Ohio State fan. They didn't let him ref that game. He got to ref last Saturday. I mean, it looks fishy and everything, but the facts are the facts, and Michigan blew a 17-7 lead, couldn't move the ball, struggled mightily on defense in the fourth quarter. I mean, when I reflect on the game, personally, I don't think JT Barrett got the first down in double overtime. I think he was stopped just short, but when I talked to you guys about it before, I told them the call couldn't have been any closer. I do think it was as close as you were going to get it. And personally, I think if Michigan were at home and the game was in Ann Arbor, the call would have gone Michigan's way. It's just the idea that that's one of those quote unquote home field calls you tend to get, the close ones, fan reactions. If the crowd erupts, it usually goes that way. Small things like that. But, at the end of the day, Michigan had 5 yards of offense in the fourth quarter when all they needed to do was protect the ball and drive. They failed to do so. They struggled to stop Barrett's feet in the fourth quarter. I think he roped a big 40 or 50 yard run off of a really blown assignment. Nobody had him. And then, I mean, heck of a game, honestly. Michigan came out firing early. Like I said, built that 10-point lead and just lost it. But, one thing I was surprised by, when the game went to overtime, I told my dad, I don't think I've ever seen this game go into overtime. And then the stat popped up. First time this game has ever gone into overtime. So it was already a historic game.
Yeah.
And that just added to the lore of the rivalry. Now there's going to be the call or whatever they choose to name it. But yeah, this just adds to it all. And, I thought Michigan was going to get, after this second loss, it was going to be moved to, number 7 or 8 roughly. And they got put at 5, and I'm not going to complain there, but to everybody saying, oh, the refs blew it for Michigan. I say, no, Michigan blew it when they lost to Iowa. If you beat Iowa, that game even though you want to win the game against Ohio State, that game wouldn't have mattered. Michigan would have been in the Big Ten championship game no matter what. So beat Iowa, and you didn't have to worry about it. Control the ball, make a first down, and then you are undefeated and number 2. I mean, those are the facts. You don't have to like them, but it's true.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said in the game. As we made known, I go to the rival school, but I don't like either of these schools, so I feel I can be a little bit non-biased in it. But it was just an odd game to me. Like I texted a friend of mine, I was just like, this game feels like it's too big for everybody involved, because like I felt like both sides were getting in their own way a lot. Urban Meyer called the first 3 quarters of the game basically way too conservatively, like wasn't aggressive at all. And it's getting to be a little bit of a trend with Harbaugh, but fourth quarters in big games, his offensive brilliance seems to fade. Because I mean, not a first down in this game, not a first down against Iowa in the fourth quarter. Last year against Michigan State, their offense faltered in the fourth quarter, and so he gets a little bit of that tight butt action when it gets to be a tight game or a big game. And then, of course, there's the issues on the field. Like JT Barrett looked like a Division II quarterback for the first 3 quarters. And Wilton Speight was amazing when he was on, but he was also possibly the biggest liability on the field for Michigan. Some of the mistakes he was making. So, like I said, just an odd game. It seemed like the gravity of the game got to everybody involved, including the referees. There were some blown calls. I did think there were some on both sides, but I think the game definitely slanted a little more towards Ohio State. It was in Ohio State. We all know how the Buckeyes fans can be, and honestly, like when it comes down to that JT Barrett first down, I have to think a little bit was like, we call this a first down and review it, because I'm not trying to deal with a riot by going the other way. Looking at the spot, I mean, I think it could go either way. It's a judgment call. The biggest grievance I would have as far as the refs go would be the pass interference in overtime. I think that one kind of cost Michigan a shot at the game. But like you said, Ty, fourth quarter play and 3 turnovers and Ohio State missing 2 field goals. You can't put too much on the refs in that game when there was still plenty of chance to win, but there were so many mistakes made.
Yeah, and I think biggest stat for me was 5 yards in the fourth quarter for Michigan. What team in the top 10, I'll even say the top 10, in a fourth quarter in any game has had less than 10 yards? And I think Michigan would be the only one.
Probably so. I mean, I don't have the stat, but I would feel comfortable saying that that's probably true.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it's just the fact that good teams, look at Alabama. They get a lead, they put it down their throat. They put it down whoever they're playing's throat and don't apologize for it. And it's almost like Michigan was playing to hold on. They were trying to milk clock. They were trying to play a possession game for a while there in the second half. I mean, like you said, when Wilton Speight wasn't throwing interceptions, he looked pretty good. And I think he looked really good considering the fact that we don't really know what his injury is. I mean, if you're injured enough to not play the previous week, and then you come out on the field, I mean, there were times during that game he looked hurt. Protecting the shoulder.
Especially once I think it was like the third quarter when he took his first real driving hit. you could definitely see it affected him a little bit.
Yeah, but to his credit, he stood in the pocket a few times and delivered some big throws.
Sure.
So I mean, for me, it was one of the ideas that, okay, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions. Yes, he fumbled one at the goal line, but I'm looking at it and saying he along with the defense still played well enough to give us a 10-point lead.
Yeah, and I mean, the game, I think it exposed some issues with both teams.
Yeah.
And rivalry games tend to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan still, playing against a better front seven, they cannot run the ball. It's just starting to show more. And when you become one-dimensional, and it was on Spate's shoulder so much because they couldn't get a control and run a game. So it was basically on Spate, the receivers, and the defense. And honestly, the defense, they got gassed by the fourth quarter, especially once Harbaugh lost creativity and they couldn't get first downs.
Yeah, the defense, they were on the field a lot.
Yeah, you could see him getting tired, and then of course, Urban Meyer started calling some more planned QB runs for Barrett. His confidence started getting up, and you could just see the defense starting to fade a little bit. And that was a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in my I'm trying to think of how many years I want to call it, but I'll even say since 2003 or 4. So what's that, 13, 14 years of cognitive remembrance of Michigan football. That's the toughest one I had to face. That was the toughest loss, because that was for everything.
Yeah.
And I think if Michigan were to be in the Big Ten title game against Wisconsin, I think everybody would be favoring Michigan there. I mean, granted, anything can happen. I don't want to say Wisconsin's a bad team. I don't believe they're a bad team. But I think that was it for Michigan. And like I said, I still look back at that Iowa game.
Yeah. That was a bad one. And it was another issue, like I said, fourth quarter, where you have more talent and you can't move the ball. That's an indictment. And also, I guess this one left me, but Harbaugh, you have to be an adult on the sideline.
Honestly, I'm cool with him being fiery and passionate. I am cool with that. The 15-yard penalty hurt. It put Ohio State at the 2. Mm-hmm. But it's who Harbaugh is. You're not going to change him. So
true. I mean, yeah,
you give and you take.
Yeah,
you do. And that was one where I think he was just so fed up and he had enough. So I mean, not the best time to take that. I agree. You have to know where you're at in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you do.
And the kids, they, for the most part, teams take on the personality of their coach.
Yeah.
He started melting down there. The team started melting down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can't have that happen.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that.
All right, guys. Now, what were your thoughts on this week's playoff rankings?
I mean, the committee loves Michigan that they stayed at 5.
Yeah.
And I think that's the story.
Yeah. I'm feeling like they're I think a lot of the country is hoping it, because Michigan they're arguably one of the best 4 teams in the country. There's no, nobody can say that that's not at least a reasonable statement.
Yeah.
And that's me saying that as a Spartan grad. They're arguably one of the best 4 teams in the country. But I feel like they put them there, I don't know if it's just to keep up the interest, because I mean, people are talking about if Washington doesn't destroy Colorado, there's a chance they jump them. And I mean, I think that's going to cause just all kinds of questions that
isn't there already questions?
Well, but I mean, if you put 2 teams from the Big Ten where neither one of them actually won the Big Ten, and that's people will be calling fires left and right. But I mean, it goes to that question of, do you want the 4 best teams? Do you want to give recognition to conference champions. What's the difference? And this is going to be one of the more intriguing final ones next week than that you can think of. I know we've only had it for 3 years, but this one throws kind of a big wrench into things.
Well, do you? I'll ask it after you talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Darnell. I mean, the thing is, I think we're assuming Ohio State's staying at least at number 2, and assuming that happens, it's the first time we've seen a non-conference champion get in. Mm-hmm. So right there already discredits everything that's happened before. Now, I'm not saying everything that's happened before has been wrong. I think in the previous years, the rankings have been fair. I think they've been totally fair. It gives a good representation of the teams in the country, and I think the last 2 playoffs have been well put together. I really think that. So this just means that conference titles is going to have no weight anymore. That's not going to be, if we win the conference, we're in. That's now out the window. And I think that, granted, I think Ohio State should be a number 2 or 3 or wherever you want to put them in the 4. I do think they should be there. I mean, their record against the top 10 is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So when I look at what they're doing at this point, I think they're now starting to put more emphasis on the eye test. Granted, like I said, Ohio State has the record against the top 10 teams, and the idea that they're winning the big games, and when you win 5 of them, you probably should be there.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
yes.
But the question is, does the eye test start to get you in trouble after a while, though?
Well, is it technically not already getting Penn State in trouble? Because if you watched, did you watch the rankings the other night? Like, did you watch it?
No.
Okay, they were talking, the panel, who was Danny Cannell and the game day, couple of the game day guys, basically they were saying, should Penn State be higher? Does Penn State winning the Big Ten championship get them in? One of the guys said yeah, and I believe that was Danny Cannell. He said yes, but then somebody else goes, yeah, but they lost to Michigan by 39. Yeah. So granted, I think the eye test is getting people into trouble. And I mean, you're looking at 2 teams playing for the Big Ten championship that all the guys on the panel are still putting Michigan in front of.
Yeah.
So yes, you can still be good, but you got to win your big games. And I think if Penn State wins, they won't get in. And honestly, I don't think the Big Ten champion gets in. I personally don't. And that'll be a tough one to swallow, because Penn State has the big win. Wisconsin has the 1 top 10 win against Nebraska, but they also lost to Ohio State and Michigan. So I think it's going to be tough for both of those teams, but I don't think either of them getting in.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. Like, personally, I think what we have right now is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But, like, if it so happens that Washington or Clemson somehow loses, I don't like. I get to look at everything. Wisconsin lost to Ohio State and Michigan. Close games in both, but they lost both of them.
Yeah.
Penn State got the doors blown off them by Michigan, but they beat the team to beat Michigan.
True.
Later in the year. True. So I mean, like, in my opinion, like, how does that not kind of erase that, show that they improved?
I agree. And that was the second argument they had, but I'll jump back to the Big Ten discussion. Kirby Hockett, the chairman of the selection committee, said that Michigan and Washington are very close.
I heard that.
Now, the only reason I would say the Big Ten champion does not get in is because he did not mention either number 6, Wisconsin, or number 7, I believe Penn State is. Mm-hmm. He did not mention either of those 2 teams being close to Washington like Michigan is. Yeah. So that makes me think the Big Ten champion's not getting in. Now, to your just real quick, to your other argument of, they're not rewarding improvement. I would agree there, because then if you want to reward improvement, look at USC. I mean, granted, they're ranked 12 or whatever, but they're playing some of the best football in the country.
For sure.
And I think it's the idea that in the playoff, every single game matters, whether it's the first or the last. And I think, you look at like Penn State improved a lot, but that loss by 39 to Michigan is going to hold over them because Michigan's ranked in front of them. And kind of like you said, unfortunately, the improvement doesn't really get looked at.
But then you argue, if you have to go like that, where you look at every game counting, does Penn State have a worse loss than Iowa? Than Michigan's loss to Iowa, even though Michigan beat them?
Well, I mean, unless you want to consider Penn State's loss to Pittsburgh is big. Granted, Pittsburgh beat Clemson.
I was going to say Pitt. They're
they're
at least ranked in the playoff rankings, and Iowa's not going to be in there anywhere.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've always said is it doesn't matter how you lose; it matters when you lose. I've always said that. So,
and Michigan's lost 2 of their last 3 games then.
Correct. And because of that, I don't think Michigan should get in. I really don't. I mean, am I going to cheer for them to get in? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think they should be in. Do I think a team like USC should get in? No, I think 3 losses is too much. You're going to find better quality 1 or 2 loss teams, depending on what the season gives you. But, I think it's more of just the idea that if you are good through 12 games of a season, you should be there. And we're looking at the 1-loss teams now, 1 loss or less, and that's who we have. So, do I think this is going to change? No. I think Washington and Clemson are both going to clean house and take their titles and stay in. And I'll be okay with that, because I do think do I think Michigan is one of the 4 teams? Yeah, I think the argument's there, but I think there's an argument for anybody in the top 8 right now.
Yeah. And just to go back, to put a little history in there, I mean, it's only a year history, but you remember when State got in last year, we were 5 the week before, or 6, something like that. But that extra game is what put them in the playoff. So I wonder if that could also come into play with for Wisconsin or Penn State, depending on how the game turns out. I know they say they're not looking at. They've said in the past they don't look at margin of victory or anything like that.
They do.
But I don't see how you don't. So if one of those 2 teams just destroys the other, and Washington or Clemson craps a bed and loses, I wonder if that's a deciding factor to jump them extra game, just being that they're in the championship game and they put them in. And also, I would think that committee wants to avoid too much backlash.
Oh, I agree.
Now, do you guys think, you're talking about just how the season has been. Do you think this would be a good time for the committee to get together and possibly extend the playoff to, maybe an 8-team playoff or what?
The max I want to see them go is 6.
6.
I would agree with 6, because that would allow for the first 2 seeds to get a bye week.
Yeah.
And I think if you are one of the top 2 seeds, you deserve that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with 6, because then it still allows for the Power 5.
Exactly.
And then you could argue for one of the non-Power 5 schools. Like this season, you would look at Western Michigan. Do they get that 6th spot? Do you give it to the best non-Power 5 conference team?
Yeah.
Or do you open that up to everybody else? That would be the bigger discussion to me. But it was interesting. Colin Cowherd today said why you should not go to an 8-team playoff. He said, let's use the fast food argument. Who are the top 10 fast food companies in America or whatever? And he listed the top 3 being McDonald's, Starbucks, and Wendy's. When you look at absolutely everything, revenue, quality, things like that, those 3 end up at the top. And then you have 4, 5, 6, whatever. And he goes, but when you start bringing, number 8, and I'm just throwing one out there. I forgot exactly what the list was, but when you throw number 8 Rallies into the mix, then everybody gets mad because nobody thinks Rallies is all that good.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I do like the exclusivity. You have to be in pretty elite company to be in top 4. When you get to the top 8, then it just opens for way more discussion. The season usually plays itself out to 4 or 5 teams.
Yes.
And I think the season has already done that. I think this year you could argue 6. The season has played itself to about 6 teams that you think have a realistic shot of getting in. But when you start looking at, all right, 8, then teams 9, 10, 11, and 12 are all getting mad. As opposed to right now, just teams 5, 6, 7, and maybe 8 are getting mad. It's really the idea that, in my opinion, when you start opening more slots, it just brings more discussion, brings more argument. More people are unhappy. So I like the idea of it being really exclusive right now. I wouldn't be mad for 6, but I wouldn't want to see bigger than that.
Yeah, pretty much the same reasons for me. I mean, since of course now with Ohio State being in the argument of what about the conference champions, if you want to make it, you win your conference title, you're in for the power car spot where it could be that up and coming non-power 5 team like a Western, or this would be that Michigan argument, or Oklahoma or USC or whatever, just whatever that outlier team is that is playing better football, you think, than most people, but you can't in good conscience put them in because of early in the season or whatever. That could be where you slide that in and do it. And also, I don't want to go to 8 just because it is football. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids, and some of them actually have a pro career ahead of them. That's just giving more chance for somebody not to be able to live that dream because of a bad injury or that one concussion that's too much. So at that level, you don't want to make the season pretty much an NFL season at that point, because they're playing 13 games if they go to a conference title, and then that would be putting 3 more games on them if you pull it to 8.
Yeah, it's an NFL season.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, coming back to the idea of, the 6 teams, and say they were to give it to conference champions, I think that just makes it a little more of a clear picture. It's a little less gray area. It's more black and white. Either you're a conference champion or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be totally cool with one position being that 6th slot being the gray area, because at that point you're picking one team. Now, right now, and I think this season is kind of showing it, all 4 spots are pretty gray. I think the committee
3 out of 4.
Well, yeah, I think Alabama, but I think the committee has shown that they can put in there really kind of whoever they want.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter what you're doing on the field, not doing on the field, because they're still talking about Washington still not really having the big time win. Beating Washington State was nice. Beating, a couple of the other teams was nice. Beating, Stanford big was nice, but they still don't talk about them, having a huge win yet. They still, are looking at Clemson and saying, well, they were still pretty inconsistent, but winning. There's still so many doubts unless your name's Alabama right now. And for me, that just means that pretty much all the spots are still very gray. They have this outline for what they claim to follow, but they still just put in there who they think they want in there. And a lot of it plays itself out. Like we said, if these teams win their conference championships, I don't think there's any doubt that there's going to be no shakeup. It's to me, if you make it the 6, I think you could say then conference champions. And I think if you're getting a conference champion, now granted, Big Ten this year, I do think is going to be an outlier for many years. It's the only conference right now where you're not going to get the best team out of it.
Yeah, because it's
the only conference
too competitive of a conference right now.
Yeah, right now it's really deep. So, the way I look at it, and granted, it could just be that year where maybe one of those teams would get a shot if it were 6 teams, And, if you went to conference champions, they would get that shot. So would I be upset about that? No. I mean, win your conference. It's kind of the goal for every team. No team's going out there saying, well, I think we can comfortably finish second in our conference and still get in. I mean, I think if you were to make that the definite criteria, it doesn't change anything. The only thing it would really change is the idea that, you could still be a really good football team and not get in. I mean, Ohio State not getting in, wouldn't be the end of the world. But if the picture were clear, it's still the same goal that every other team has.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess just to throw a little more gray on it from what you're talking about, like how we brought up people are questioning Washington, which is basically just that pure taking a shot at the Pac-12, which they are down this year, but even they're undefeated, so nobody's going to question it. And they've run the table; they've beaten everybody that's in front of them. But the SEC is down, and there's a little bit of doubt with me. Just wondering, like, are they seriously this dominant as we're saying that they are, or are they playing a not very good SEC this year? I mean, you look at the rankings, just as far as like we're talking about eye test goes, Big Ten's best conference this year, and probably the SEC and Big 12 and Big 12 are comparable. And the Pac-12, honestly, I don't think is that far behind them, and neither is the ACC. I think this is a pretty even year of football this year, so I'm interested to see that first round for Alabama. I think they luck out if it's a Washington or if Wisconsin, Penn State, or Michigan slip in there. I think those are good matchups for Alabama. I am interested though to see them play Clemson or Ohio State, just because of how they match up in areas where Saban is traditionally weak at covering.
Okay. Up next, just wondering, who do you guys have in like the final playoff when it's announced? You think it'd be these four teams, or do you think it'll be a change, or what?
I think it'll be these four teams.
Okay.
I'm pretty much in line with that. I think Washington has the toughest game ahead of them against Colorado. Virginia Tech is a good team, but Clemson seems to be shaping into form right now. So I don't think they're gonna lose to them. So I mean, I guess there's a chance Washington loses, but I think I think it'll be Michigan that slips in there then if that's the case.
The only reason I'd agree with that, I mean, if you just look at facts, which I guess is kind of what I've been coming back to a little bit, 2 losses this year for Michigan, one against a top 2 team, the other one coming to an unranked team, doesn't look good, but a last-second field goal, lose by 1, lose in double overtime by 3. So you lose 2 games by a combined 4 points. The defense is the strong suit of that team. Everybody knows it. I think Michigan has probably the stronger case to get in, mainly because they could say, well, we beat Wisconsin and Penn State, which would in my opinion, would be most likely the team to jump them, the winner of that game. So I think they have the strongest argument to get in if Clemson or Washington were to fall.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, and I actually think kind of the dark horse behind them all is Oklahoma. Also, I mean, because they're playing Oklahoma State, so they'll have something that's fresh in people's mind, and it is a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Their losses to Ohio State and Houston, 2 good teams, so they're not. I mean, they did get beat down by Ohio State, but they lost to 2 ranked teams as well. So I think there might be a chance for them still, even though they're down at 9 right now. if they were to take care of business like handily against.
Win by like 100.
All right. Last but not least for NCAA, just really been kind of disappointed in this team's performance the last few weeks, getting ready to end the season. But Louisville, they did lose to Kentucky. Do you think this screwed up Lamar Jackson's Heisman hopes, or do you guys still think he got it in the bag?
It's definitely more questionable now.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a couple games where he's struggled now, and there's been a couple other players that have kind of shot up and have had some very good games that you can look at them now. So I don't think he has it in the bag. I do think he's still the front runner, but it's not a sure thing to me now.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I would say he has it in the bag if he didn't have 4 turnovers. Yeah. Basically, all he had to do was not crap the bed, and he kind of crapped the bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this just opens up a lot more discussion. But I think he was so dominant at points this year that you're going to kind of blinders looking at his resume. I still think he had a heck of a year. He was definitely the guy that took college football by storm. I won't be surprised if he still wins it. I would still pick for him to win it, but I think it just opens the discussion for everybody else.
Yeah, would agree with that. I mean, you have to look at the full body of work, but yeah, I mean, I think he has opened the door a little bit for like either a D.D. Westbrook out of Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield's come on strong, Deontay Foreman out of Texas, and Browning out of Washington. If he had an amazing Pac-12 title game, I think he might earn himself some votes as well.
All right, guys, you ready for the pick'ems?
Yep.
All right. Out of 54, Darnell's number 1 with 39. Tyler second with 37. I'm last with 34. First game.
Step the game up, son.
Yeah, I know, man. First game we're about to get into this week is San Diego State versus Wyoming. Who you guys got?
I'll take Pumphrey. Dude's killing it. I'll take Pumphrey in San Diego State. Running the ball over everybody. He's having a phenomenal year. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts getting into the Heisman discussion as well.
Yeah, he's definitely been eating up yards. But yeah, I go with San Diego State too.
Yep, going with them as well. So, okay, up next we got Kansas State versus TCU.
A little bit of a tougher one.
Yeah. Give me Kansas State, yeah.
All right.
We sound so thrilled to be picking these games.
Yeah, give me Kansas State. You said Kansas State too, right, Ty?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Temple versus Navy.
I'll take Navy. I think Navy's going to be fighting hard to get the nod over Western Michigan, but I'll take Navy. I think they're going to try and win this one pretty convincingly.
Okay.
Yeah, give me them midshipmen. I think they bring out that fluky option offense that just nobody ever seems to be prepared for, and they pull this out.
All right. Okay, yeah, I got Navy as well. All right, Western Michigan versus Ohio.
Row the boat.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's going to be clear across the board here. If we're going to make them the state champions here, an undefeated Western Michigan squad. Let's go.
All right, got Western as well. Okay, about to get into the big ones, real big ones now. Colorado versus Washington.
Hey now, Western Michigan is the real one. But no, Colorado versus Washington, you said?
Yeah.
I'm going to take. Oh, this one's hard for me. Do I want to go with loyalty to Michigan? Do I want to go with a reasonable pick? I don't know what to do. Give me Washington. I honestly think they're just a better football team.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that offense is just on all cylinders right now, and I think they win this one pretty easily. Give me Washington.
All right, I got Washington as well. I think they're gonna just pass it on them, and I just think overall they're just a better team. So
I will be cheering for the Buffs, though.
All right.
Chaos.
Yeah. Clemson versus VT.
Oh, Clemson probably in a big one.
I actually think this will probably be the closer one.
Me too. Yeah.
Really?
Virginia Tech they're just one of those quiet, good teams to me.
I think Clemson's going to clean up.
Well, I mean, I think Clemson wins it, but I think it's closer than most people think.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Clemson as well. I do agree with Darnell. I think this is going to be a close game. I think out of all the matchups, out of the big games, I think out of anybody that could do an upset, I think it'd be Virginia Tech. So, but I'm going with Clemson on this one as well. Put this in real quick. And then we got Wisconsin versus Penn State.
It's tough. Penn State's offense is looking pretty good right now. I don't know. I like Wisconsin. I think they're better rounded. Barkley got, shaken up a little bit last week. I don't think that'll affect him too bad. But I'm going to go Wisconsin here. I think I saw enough out of them during the regular season to pick them here.
I'm going with Penn State. Wisconsin's quarterback's been getting shaken up lately. And
he'll pick it up. Don't worry.
So I'm just wondering there. And Penn State's offense, it's creative and they have a solid defense. I do think they're a totally different team from earlier in the year.
I'd agree there, though.
Yeah.
James Franklin has turned at least this team around, and they've wiped the stench of Christian Hackenberg off of them.
Who would have thought?
They win this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Penn State as well. Just really impressed with that team. Last week, Michigan State was hanging in there with them. Then, once the second half started, these guys just turned it up to a whole different level and just started balling out like crazy. So I think these guys are confident. I think they're going to find a way to win. So I'm going to go with Penn State on this one. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma.
Boomer Sooner.
All right.
Yeah, Oklahoma, they've been looking like what we thought they would be earlier in the year right now. Probably a little too late for them, but I think they win this one.
Yeah.
And they're also one of the only teams that plays defense in that conference.
Yeah.
Still
well, somewhat of defense.
Yeah. I'm going with Oklahoma as well. I was disappointed me earlier this year, but these guys really start playing like the team that I had them being early in the season. They finally got it together, so they're on the roll. So I'm going with Oklahoma. And last but not least, Bama versus Florida.
Oh man,
Bama by bludgeoning.
Yeah, I think Florida is going to give them a game for their first possession, and then Bama is just going to be Bama.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm taking Bama.
Yeah. That game just for a team with no offense to play against that defense and try. Their defense is going to be on the field all day, so at some point they're going to get tired, and Alabama's just going to start racking up points, probably midway through the third quarter.
Yeah, if my man Urban was still there, I could see it being different, but him coaching them. But yeah, I got Bama winning this, doing their thing against Florida. So, all right, Darnell basically taking all my picks, so I can't really catch up to him this week. But
so change your picks. I picked first.
Tried that, man.
Didn't
work.
Follow you.
All right, guys. Anything else to add for NCAA?
Go Bucks.
You should have picked your picking the same as me earlier in the year. That's what I gotta say.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Up next, we're about to go to NFL. First thing we're about to get into is Tony Romo. There have been rumors about him possibly being traded. What are you guys' thoughts on those rumors?
I think it's true. I mean, it probably happens in the off season, but it looks like this is going to be Dak's show from now on. And if healthy, Romo still has some good years left in him, so I think they should do right by him and trade him to a contender. All the rumors have been Denver, which a perfect fit for him.
I agree.
It'd still be kind of weird. It'd be weird for me to see Romo at a different, place other than Dallas. But
but in reality, it's still weird to see him in Dallas. I mean, even last year, all those Cowboy fans wanted him gone.
Man.
They wanted him gone after he fumbled the field goal snap. They wanted him gone for many a times, and then they always want him back. And then,
I've been one of the consistent.
They don't want him.
Yeah, I gotta admit, Darnell, you've been consistent with him. So
I've rode for him.
Yeah, I mean, granted, he's still a really good quarterback. Not saying that they just are going in a different direction. I mean, they're killing it now. Not trading him would be a disservice. It would be very disrespectful to Tony Romo. And I think the Cowboys have a little more class than that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Denver. I just like Darnell said, I think that's a great fit. They're giving him weapons there. They're giving him a good defense. And he'll be able to, I think he'll actually do better than Peyton Manning did in his last year.
Oh, yeah, because he still has a live arm.
Yeah, that was the year they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. So, I mean, just looking at it, that's a great fit. I mean, no disrespect to Trevor Siemian, but who would you ride with?
Exactly, yeah. And, I mean, I feel a little bit bad for Romo just because this was the year if they could have kept him upright. I mean, I don't think Dallas's record would be too much different with him. But, that's just the way the side the coin fell on this year. But, I mean, they're not going to keep a backup with that contract on staff. So, trade him. They can probably still get a third, maybe second round pick for him right now. Because, I mean, talent wise, he's still in the top quarter of the league. Talent wise, probably as a quarterback. It's just you worry about the injuries building up. But a team that's quarterback deprived right now, which it seems like Denver is, like Jonesy could probably get himself another Herschel Walker type deal where they can set the Cowboys up for years to come.
Another potential place I could see him is with the Jets, but I don't see them making a move for Romo, but I think he could fit there.
Yeah, that's another team he could definitely fit with. They seem to be sticking with their quarterback, but I think Kansas City would be another one too.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Alex Smith fan, so
the only reason I agree so strongly with the Denver idea is because that team's already built to win now.
Yep.
Granted, C.J. Anderson took the IR this year, and Devontae Booker's getting a lot of game time, but that team's built to win now, and Tony Romo's a win now quarterback, so makes sense.
Yeah. Now, just a quick question to you, Darnell. You're a Cowboys guy. One of y'all all-time greats, Michael Irvin, last week, he said that he wanted them to lose a game. Just what were your thoughts about that when you heard that, man?
I just didn't pay it much mind. I guess he's used to playing on a team where, if you look back, the team that he played on, they really didn't have that many great regular season records.
Yeah.
They were one of those teams that could flip a switch and, once the playoffs hit, it was like, okay, now we're just about to maul everybody. I don't think this is that kind of team, especially with rookies on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if a team beats them and they learn from it, fine, but I don't think they should just – I mean, what does he want them to do? If they're playing better than other teams, they're playing better than other teams. losing on purpose isn't going to achieve anything.
Mm-hmm.
Some team has to come in fired up enough to beat them.
Yeah.
So if that happens and they can fix some things off of it, but on the other hand, some team can come in there and do work and then they expose them in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, all the rest of their games.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the next potential loss I see them even having is to Detroit. So there you have it.
Yeah.
that'll be their next loss on the schedule. Don't worry, Darnell. I already know what game they're picking to lose.
All right. Yeah, I think that's the last game of the season for them, right?
No.
Second last.
Oh, second
yeah.
last. Okay.
I mean, by that time, we might be benching starters.
Yeah,
Hey, I won't care. Any W helps.
Yeah. All right, guys. There was another rumors, speculation coming out that the NFL might possibly be getting rid of Thursday night football. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'm not opposed to it, or at least limit it, because it's bad football, and there's plenty of logic behind it. Where you have a lot of the times it's a team that's played the Sunday before, and you have them turn around and come on a short week. They're used to having a rest day, however their practice schedule goes after that, and film study and all that kind of stuff, where you shorten that to 4 days, 3 days really.
Yeah.
And you have your walkthrough on Thursday. You're not going to be as prepared for who you're playing that week. If they want to keep it, they have to somehow figure it has to be two teams coming off of bye weeks. So you have ample time to prepare so you can actually get a good football game. Majority of the Thursday night games this year have been terrible. So, and I think it's due to stuff like that. These guys, this is a violent sport. You're taking all kinds of hits, so you have less time than usual to try to recuperate and go play another game, and the play on the field falters for it.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing about Thursday night football is the commentators. I mean, you're getting the legendary commentators calling crappy games.
True.
I mean, like we're looking at terrible teams playing in terrible jerseys, producing terrible games. I mean, I don't want to sit down and watch a Thursday night game between the Jets and the Buccaneers. You know, like that does not make me want to sit down for 3 hours to watch a football game. Like I get excited to watch like the Patriots play the Seahawks. That's what makes me want to watch football. But for me, everything Darnell said too. I mean, on a more real note, I mean, guys have less time to prepare. You know, it's just more contact on a quicker turnaround time. I'm surprised we don't see more injuries on Thursday night games than we already do. But
I mean, we've had some bad ones like that.
No, you're
that
right.
Luke Kuechly deal, that was a Thursday night game, wasn't it?
I can't remember if that may have been.
I think it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, either way, it's the idea that the NFL is Thursday night to try and just boost their ratings a little bit more, and nobody really watches the Thursday night game. People may tune in for a little bit, but nobody wants to sit down on a Thursday night and watch football because a lot of people either have a scheduled TV show they're currently watching or find something else to watch. I mean, Sunday is NFL. Sunday and Monday night. That's NFL. That's been the NFL, and that's what the NFL will continue to be. Thursday night's just another example of them just trying to get more ratings and more revenue.
All right, guys. Now, it's getting ready for the last stretch of the season. Which teams do you think will step it up the most on this last stretch?
I'll tell you a team that needs to step it up is the Lions, man. I mean, they're not closing this season very easily. New Orleans on Sunday. They play the Bears one more time, which should be their easiest game, but then they have the Packers and the Cowboys. So they're going to have to step it up if they want to get in. I don't know how much more of this trailing in the fourth quarter stunt they can pull, but I mean, they're working with it, so more power to them. But for me, I think not just being a Lions fan, I think anybody aware of the playoff picture will see that they're a team that needs to kind of get their act together if they want to be serious about it. Because these last handful of weeks, these teams aren't going to give it to them in the fourth quarter like Jacksonville has.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're a team that kind of needs to show that they can they can start a fourth quarter with the lead, maybe. Because I mean, it feels like every game in the last 3 minutes, the Lions are coming back, and you can only ride that horse so long.
Yeah,
you have to show you can just beat a team throughout. I mean, it's exciting how much the end of all their games has been. It's crazy. Like Stafford's looking like comeback kid right now, but I think they have to prove that they can just control a team and not have them lull away and let them sneak back in and come through the back door and win.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I guess if I want to talk about maybe a couple teams that nobody's really taking notice to right now, the Miami Dolphins are in the wild card. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think anybody's talking about them. They've won a handful in a row, 5 or 6 in a row at this point. So
football.
Yeah, so I mean they're playing good football, but once again, it's still the idea that they're not during this win streak they haven't exactly played top caliber football teams along the entire schedule. So they're still a team I need to see a little more out of. In terms of the NFC, the Giants are in the wild card. They've picked it up from a very sluggish start. Eli Manning and Odell Beckham are getting back on the same page. They're starting to look pretty good. But teams in the hunt that I think still have a decent shot to get in, the Vikings are one of them. I think they need to get it together offensively if they want any shots. Same with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers needs to figure it out. Because, I mean, Packers could easily win out and get in. I don't think anybody would put it past them. Broncos are on the outside looking in. Steelers are as of right now as well. And both those teams could very easily get in. The Steelers need to do a little bit better job defensively. Offensively, they're all there. They have all the weapons. They have everything you could ask for and a little bit more. So, I mean, there aren't too many unrealistic teams that'll end up getting in. It's just who's going to step up and want it the most.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how, with the recent news of Gronk having this back surgery, I'm interested to see how the Patriots look now for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be for me, my Ravens, man. Right now they're 6-5. They're tied with, they're not tied with they got the same record as Steelers in their division. Both at 6-5. But I really like to see the Ravens pick it up these last few games. They got a pretty tough schedule ahead of them. They will get some teams like they played the Dolphins this week. Next week they're going to be playing in New England against the Beast Tom Brady. Then they have the Eagles, and then the Steelers and Cincinnati. They're playing against their division rivals in there. So these are some games where I really think they definitely need to step it up and win to pull it off so they can get into in the playoffs. So I think this is going to be pretty tough schedule for them. Just how they've been playing. They've been pretty inconsistent this year. So really not impressed with some of their play this year. So for them, for me, I really think they should step it up for sure to get in there. So.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys need to step it up, Darnell. Come on.
Yeah. I've been doing good, man. Just would like to see.
They need to step it up this game right now, I got to say.
Yeah.
What's the score?
7-6.
7-6, okay.
Yeah, Minnesota just made a field goal. The both and won, so.
Okay, that's a good game then. All right.
Well, okay, depends what you mean by a good game, but yeah.
7-6?
Oh, a lot of defense, but
I like defensive games. So.
Yeah, I'll say nothing wrong with that, but
Tyler wants
Minnesota.
to see
well, no, Minnesota.
49 game.
No, dude, the Vikings can just be a crapshoot on offense, and teams benefit off that. That's why Detroit beats them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
All right, guys, you ready to wrap this up with the pick'ems?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, out of 51, Darnell, he's number 1 with 25. I'm number 2 with 24. Tyler's third with 23.
Almost at 500. Almost.
We'll see if we can get there this week. Detroit versus NOLA. Who you guys got?
Ooh. I really want to pick Detroit, but give me Detroit. Let's do it.
I was going to say, you
Let's
won.
go. Let's go.
I know it's a question if Ingram's going to be on the field, but I'm interested to see how Detroit handles such a high-octane offense indoors where they like playing.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Saints.
Me too, man. Breeze and that offense, passing and whatnot. I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Detroit. Miami versus Baltimore. Who you guys got?
I just don't think Miami's as good as their win streak says they are. Granted, Tannehill's played better, but I think this Baltimore defense is better than some of the teams they've recently been playing. So I'll take the Ravens. I think Flacco and Wallace are gonna have some fun and get a bomb touchdown. So I'll take Baltimore. Not very high scoring though. Okay. I think it'll be a hard nosed game.
Yeah, this will be one of those tough ones to watch. I also just kind of have that feeling that everybody's starting to hop on the Miami train right now. I think that's kind of where it runs into that wall, and Baltimore takes them. I'm going to take Baltimore here too.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens as well. Got to support my squad. Ray Lewis, a lot of people's getting on him about him criticizing Flacco, but hopefully, if anything, that sticks with Flacco and motivates him positively. So I'd like to see him go off this game, but we'll see. Up next, we have Washington versus Arizona.
Seattle? Oh, no, you're right. Washington. I'm thinking, I was looking ahead. My fault. Kirk Cousins is slinging the ball. Give me Captain Kirk and the Skins.
Yeah, I'm going Washington here too, just because Arizona, I don't know what to make of them outside of Dave and Fitzgerald. Nobody's consistent on that team. So
yeah, including the defense.
Yeah, which is a strong suit.
Yeah.
So I'm going Washington. I think they get carved up by Cousins probably.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with Washington as well. Just really impressed with Kirk Cousins' play this year. Especially last week against Dallas, man. Even though they lost, man, that dude has some great numbers. So I'm going to go with Captain Kirk, as Tyler says. And we got Carolina versus Seattle next.
Seattle. And I think I jumped the gun because I want to pick them. So,
yeah, it already seems like Seattle's coming in this game kind of fired up.
Richard Sherman with some talk.
Taking some shots at Cam. I think they're coming in this one with a chip on their shoulder. So, give me Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle as well, man. I like the trash talk already about Sherman. Hopefully this fires Cam up and it'll just be a good game just to watch. So, and last but not least, Houston versus Green Bay.
I'm going to take the Packers here. I don't think Houston has enough to offer offensively. Defensively, they're there. I don't think Brock Osweiler's living up to contract at home. I don't see him doing it this week.
Two underachieving teams playing each other. I mean, I just don't think Houston's good, and Green Bay is just confusing. But I'll just go with the better quarterback here and take Green Bay just because, Osweiler's been a waste of a contract. So let's go with the Pack.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers as well. Like you said, Darnell, two underachieving teams, but I think the Packers, they got a lot more potential than Houston. So I'm going to go with Packers on this one as well. So, well, how it looks, either way, Darnell's going to have the lead. We all picked the same team. So Darnell's still on my picks again. So
I picked Detroit.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah, so I'll be getting one back this week. Yeah, I'll be getting one back this week.
Yeah. So, all right. You guys have any other final thoughts, whether NFL, NBA, whatever?
I did have one question for y'all.
Okay.
I think we're all together and thinking it's pretty much Alabama versus everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think, I mean, even if it's not one in the top four, what team do you think has the best chance of beating them?
I can't remember if I shared this with you guys when I saw you close to Thanksgiving, but I honestly think Washington can. I think Washington does not have a conservative game plan at really any point unless they're up 40. I think they throw the ball well enough to where they can sling it around that Alabama defense, pick up the pace a little bit. I think they play aggressively enough on both sides of the ball where they could, run a few schemes or some trickery and move the ball or stop the ball. I think where Washington would falter a bit is if Jalen Hurts beats him with his feet. Granted, a scrambling quarterback's tough at any point, but I think just offensively and defensively, the aggressiveness of Washington is there. And like I said, I think Browning's arm is good enough to sling the ball around on Alabama.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I would have Washington as well, just with I think Washington, I think that's a team a lot of people are kind of looking over a little bit. But that offense, just how they pass the ball, I would say Washington. But number two, just because of Urban Meyer, I would say Ohio State. Him and Saban, they always, whenever they play, they're 2-2 versus each other. I think you give them about month or whatever it is, time to prepare for each other. I think they both can come up with a game plan for each other that make the game really close, and they could both coaches will find a way. Could find a way to possibly win out of those two. So,
yeah, but see, I personally would disagree with that Ohio State pick. I haven't seen enough out of Ohio State really as of late. I understand, it's the end of the year, players are banged up. This will give them some time to rest. But if they see each other in the national championship game, you best know I think Alabama's going to win that game pretty handily.
That's fair.
My number two team is the same as Trey's. I think it's Ohio State, but number one, I still think it's Clemson.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Clemson, okay.
Yeah, they're not as strong defensively as they were last year, but Saban, his Achilles heel has always been a mobile quarterback.
Like, but the thing
Auburn's times beating them.
Yeah. The thing that I would see,
when Ohio State last beat them.
Yeah, the thing that I was think that would help them a little bit. They kind of got a quarterback now that could scramble. So,
that's like I said. I'm not favoring any team in the country over them.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I just think, they can level the playing field because they both of those teams have quarterbacks that if the corners and safeties get their backs turned and they get a good pocket around them, they can break out and gash you for 15, 20 yards here and there.
Yeah.
And Ohio State has a weapon like Samuel that you can put in the backfield, put on the outside, and put them in the option game with them. And I think that can be scary for Ohio State side.
Yeah. Why why I would say Clemson over Ohio State is because I think Deshaun Watson is just a better quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
He's throwing the ball a lot better. He's actual dual threat. I mean, if you've seen JT Barrett at all this year, outside of that Oklahoma game, he hasn't exactly thrown the ball really well.
Yeah.
He's beaten more teams with his feet. So what I think Alabama would do is just force him to throw the ball, collapse the pocket, force it, either force him to really make a play with his feet or force him to step up in the pocket and try to make throws.
Yeah, one thing Urban would have to do with Ohio State, though, is give JT confidence to throw the ball deep. Because if Alabama just focusing on the short pass and then, they got to contain them and they don't got to worry about the deep ball, then I think that would be huge in Alabama's favor. If the only thing they got to worry about is, 5 to 10 yard passes from them. So,
well, for either team, I think it would be about keeping a clean pocket for the quarterback, which is hard to do against that defense.
Yeah. So, anything else, guys?
That should be it.
All right. As always, guys, appreciate y'all for tuning in. You can feel free to follow us on Twitter at DKM_cast. Also, you can check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Just hit us up at Don't Kill the Messengers Podcast. We should pop up somewhere. Also, feel free to check out my cousin, if you're interested in cars, his YouTube channel, The Black Scat Pack. That's about it, guys. As always, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Peace.